Again, I chose to read this tonight because of so many of my dear family is here and old friends, and I think that it's something, well, if you've read it on my blog, then you know about this, but this is about someone who's very dear to me. This is about Aunt Jean, and her granddaughter is here tonight, so let's go to that. Aunt Jean read philosophy on the 50 trolley as bounded down 4th Street in fits and starts toward Passyunk Avenue. Rocked forth in her seat as if she were praying, she read and swayed until the brake wheeled and the wheels ground to a screeching halt for the 5th time. Then she closed her book, grabbed the pole beside her, and stood erect, climbed down the steps, and walked the block to Lenny's hot dog stand, where she sold. On Saturdays, when I rode the trolley and walked to Lenny's, she fed me before I walked to South Philadelphia. Aunt Jean, fish cakes, mustard, chopped onions, kraut, and homemade pepper hash into warm buns and handed them over to the counter to customers she addressed as baby and doll. Hey baby, what can I get you? Something to drink, doll? She must have said this at least 50 times a day, never wearing her smile. Edie Gourmet, sugar, no cream, right? Aunt Jean complimented her customers' resemblance to the popular celebrities of the day to make them smile. Aunt Jean wore pink frock to match her painted fingernails. Her hair was set and heavily sprayed. J, I thought, with a flip at the bottom. Her uniform was white, embroidered with Jean in red, chest pocket. Freshly polished white shoes were flat, wide, and made for comfort and support as she stood all day in a 10 by 12 trailer at an open window above a slate counter. Inside were steam ovens with stainless steel doors and black knobs on top, which she flung open with a large prawn, fuck moist doggies and plump patties fish. Ba-ba-boop. The doors bounced and settled backwards as steam enveloped her and the acrid smell of hot fermented cabbage and freshly chopped onions permeated the air inside and out. She must have smelled it in her dreams. Sauerkraut was kept in a bowl in the oven. Its overflow doused the steaming hot dogs with a signature tang. But pepper hash was what scored Lenny's hot dogs its local fame. Bubba Ida's recipe from the old country. A few carrots, a whole green pepper, a head of cabbage, white sugar, and distilled white vinegar, all chopped together. How much sugar and vinegar? New employees would ask. Shit the lime. Just throw it in, Aunt Jean said with a slight wave of the right hand, repeating her mother's Yiddish words and recipe. She arrived early each morning to light the urns and chop the vegetables. This was her job, performed her a chosen profession. On Tuesdays, before I started kindergarten, Aunt Jean emerged from her cubicle of sweet and sour steam to spend her day off with me. We had a standing date for breakfast at Litton and Castor Avenue in Northeast Philadelphia, where we lived. On Tuesdays, Aunt Jean wore black. Her blouse was off the shoulder, and her skirt was flared out by the flared crinoline beneath. It sounded crinkly, as if forming snowballs, when I pressed against her skirt. Her black heels clopped on the street in short, quick steps. We took my stroller higher, but I usually walked beside her, holding onto the handle. We would need the stroller later to hold our purses. We didn't bother with sidewalks as we made our way toward Castor Avenue. The up and down of sidewalks was hard to negotiate in heels and a stroller. We walked in the street, alongside the curb. Aunt Jean trusted that drivers would see us. Indeed, they often just to look at her. Aunt Jean liked her coffee black, her toast dry, and her cigarettes unfiltered. Short stack, side of toast, hold the butter. B, our steady waitress announced over the microphone to the cooks as we entered Lee's. Heaping dishes of sun-dried up eggs, bacon, fried potatoes, and thick pancakes with a scoop of butter on top that looked like melting ice cream rolled in on a long conveyor belt. We always sat where I could follow the route of my perfectly plate-sized stack. I couldn't smell much of anything except for cigarette smoke. Aunt Jean took long, languorous drags on her cigarette, held the smoke in her desk, then exhaled with a deep sigh. She relaxed back in the chair. The cigarette sat perched on the elegant pedestal of her closely positioned fingers and tape-painted nails. I knew that she had taught piano with those fingers, and I'd seen her play duets with her daughter. What I didn't know at that time was that she had been offered a career as a classical pianist in New York when she was a young woman, but her mother was afraid to let her go. Instead, she was paid to improvise on the keyboard in silent moves in Philadelphia during the night. "Can you teach me to play piano?" "I don't have the patience to Kurt Litton's." "But how about you?" Pointer toward my face. Say, while doodling on the paper placemat, "What do you like to draw?" I'd say, off the blue intersecting lines on my paper. "They sparkle, just like you'll be anything you want to be. You've got personality." Then we'd walk out of Litton's and the Avenue singing, "'Cause you've got personality, walk with personality, talk personality, smile personality, charm." We'd end up at Woolworth's 5 and 10, where she bought my crayons. For herself, she chose a new lipstick, perhaps a bottle of nail polish, or a stiff, sandy emery board. Aunt Jean and I remained close for 35 years, until she died of emphysema. In her later years, I became her confidant. She told me about her husband, Leon. He said he was sick, didn't want to have children. So I had 3 back alley abortions and almost bled to death the 3rd time. When I be pregnant again, the doctor said, "You better have this baby." "When you're young, you do dumb things," Aunt Jean said. "I could have had 4 children, like your mother." The 4th pregnancy resulted in a daughter whom she adored, fretted over, and raised alone. Her daughter was born with a hip deformity and had to wear a bar separating her legs for the first 5 years of her life. She needed to be carried, and her sickly husband wouldn't carry her. "Divorce him! What good is he?" Jean's sister Lena advised. "I liked him well enough, but Lena kept nagging," Jean said. And perhaps she was right. He wasn't much help. So she divorced him. Aunt Jean and her daughter moved in with her parents, never asking for child support from Leon. Meanwhile, Sister Lena remained unhappily married for 55 years. When I turned 50, I got a nose job and started to go into dances, Aunt Jean said. I met a man, and we dated for a while. Then he told me he was married with children, and yet he went to singles dances. Until I said, enough, Eddie. I never dated again. All my life, I lacked confidence. I joined the library, think books would help. Aunt Jean sold sandwiches most of her life for her brother Lenny. She read self-help and philosophy while shuttling to and from work. She took care of her nieces and nephews on her days. She gave her money to her daughter and grandchildren. When she retired, she kept busy and remained social by making weekly dinners for her family. Osteoporosis robbed her bones of minerals and stature. Her hands shook wildly while salting the soup she prepared for her family. At 80, she cut a familiar figure in the neighborhood, bent over her shoulder, pushing slowly and carefully toward Castor Avenue. She'd return groceries for her weekly soiree. Aunt Jean pushed ahead toward each new day, filling her life with simple pleasures, deflecting her larger dreams. When I consider the forces that helped shape her life, I can understand why. Aunt Jean grew up in an immigrant family. Her parents arrived in Philadelphia in 1909. Jean was 4. They lived in tenant slums until they got a foothold. She and her 9 sisters and brothers and 1 niece depended on her for emotional support, while their parents struggled to feed and clothe them. Vermach, open your eyes, watch, listen, learn. Don't make trouble. This is her. This impacted life decisions. She didn't want to disrupt anything or make trouble. She just wanted to please. Her attitude toward her dreams was inherited from her struggling parents. To dream such dreams, just be good-natured and fit in. That's all she could hope for. She knew it wasn't enough. Still, she couldn't oppose the people she loved. Simpler became easier for her. I fight this tendency in myself to fall back on what is easier, diluting my spirit. At times in my adult life, I'm overwhelmed by a task. She arrives early in the morning, lights my urn, and sings the song in my heart. I awaken and walk into the day with confidence, personality.